Are you looking to start or expand your international business? Then with us, you're in the right place. We support your internationalization process from start to finish, based on your specific needs. With our Go Global cockpit, you can analyze and discover markets and receive information on customs tariffs in over 150 countries. And our country experts are ready to discuss your next export project without commitment.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our today's webinar about rail projects in the Nordic countries. My name is Michael Kühn, and I work as a senior consultant with SGE, responsible for the Nordic countries, and I will guide you through this webinar today. Here is our today's agenda. After my short introduction and one from Swiss Rail, we will see the presentations of our experts from Sweden and Norway, followed by our Q&A session at the end. And we expect to have about 1 hour for the whole webinar. Now, looking at the participants list today, I see a lot of SGE and Swiss Rail member companies and also customers. So many of you already know us quite well. And I will only highlight a few key facts about our organization as an update for you and maybe some new information for those who haven't been in touch with us yet in the past. SG is the official Swiss organization for export and investment promotion. We are a non-profit organization with currently more than 2,000 member companies from Switzerland and Liechtenstein. Our offices in Switzerland are located in Zurich, Renault, and in Lugano, and our global presence with the Swiss business hubs I will show you just in a minute. There are for you as a company, many personal and digital touch points and services available, how we can support you in your international business activities. Usually it starts with a free consultation session with one of our country or industry experts, where we discuss questions and define a possible support through SG and its global network. So this could mean, for example, collecting specific market information or connecting you with relevant stakeholders in a target market, such as customers, business partners, tender specialists, you name it. Or you can use our broad digital offerings, for example, our online platform Go Global Cockpit, where around the clock, of course, you can collect tailor-made market information, global business opportunities, tender information, and so on. Just get in touch with us and we will be happy to navigate you through our offerings, and we'll find the one that suits you best. So here you see the map where all our global offices are represented. We currently operate offices in 31 countries, all of them located at the Swiss embassies or Swiss consulates abroad. The good news is on this map, we will open a Swiss Business Hub Nordics in Stockholm in less than 2 months. So we will be well positioned to support you in the Nordic region as well. What does that mean now for you as a company and as a member of SGE? We are a member organization. We offer many advantages for our members. As a Swiss Rail member, by the way, you also become an SGE member, so you can enjoy all the member benefits we offer as well. And you can, of course, find all those details on our website. In particular for the railway industry, I would like to highlight a few upcoming activities. So there will be, for example, 2 business missions in cooperation with Swiss Rail, one to Poland coming up in May and one to the Brenner Basistunnel in June. For both business missions, there are still seats left and you can still register. Furthermore, there are 2 Swiss pavilions planned, one at Kraków, also in Poland next year. And as a preview already for 2026, there are plans to have a Swiss pavilion at the UPTA show in the US, but information will go out, as I learned from my colleagues, only in fall this year. So stay tuned. And of course, we, together with Swiss Rail, will keep you informed about all these activities we have in your industry. So this is also the right moment to thank our partner Swiss Rail for their support and long-standing cooperation. And I would like to hand over the microphone to Andy Haas for the welcome note. Please, Andy.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you very much. Switzerland Global Enterprise cooperating with us on this webinar. Let me start with the first experience 30 years ago when I just left my engineering study. I was working for ABB, and we sold some locomotives VRSR2 to Finland. And this is the famous Lok 2000. And I remember it was said, let's sell it 1-to-1. And then we went up to Finland, and then it was -40 degrees as a requirement specification. And this was a huge challenge. What I want to say with that, I think these Scandinavian countries or the Nordics in general are a very interesting market. However, the conditions are different, rush conditions, you have to take care. And I think Switzerland has the best technology for these markets. We have there, the market as well, of course, interesting, and certain limitations are then in countryside, of course. We have to adapt in each and every specific countries. Sweden and Norway and Finnish and Danish, whatever. You have to adapt. It's always a kind of a certain difference to be addressed. Yes, there are a lot of interesting projects coming up in the urban area as well, metros, and my experiences as well definitely do have innovation there. There is a lot of need of good and innovative solutions in the railway and mobility in general. And I would really like to motivate all our members and industrial companies in Switzerland to go for these markets to deploy, because there's a lot of investments coming up in the near future. I just want to add at the very end, we have as well a Team Switzerland. This is a cooperation between Switzerland Global Enterprise and the SERF Insurance and Swiss Rail. And we also develop infrastructure projects in general in a bigger scale. And we, in case you have any kind of such proposals of big project, please come and contact us, because we cluster them, we bundle them, we analyze them, and then we try to bundle our strengths going to these markets and execute as well bigger project, not only requirements on specific parts or railway projects. These we do actually not only for railway, as well for cable car. Bus system is also part of our Swiss Rail Mobility Industrial Association, and we have about 140 members. I'm very proud. We are also growing these days, and thank you again for the fantastic cooperation. You got a small flavor about all our activities in export. There's quite so much more. Please feel free to contact us if you need any kind of clarification on that. Thank you very much, and I would like to hand over to Michael. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Andy, for your welcome note, and thank you very much for interrupting even your holidays to make it possible. So we really appreciate that. Thank you, Andy. So after those welcoming notes, I would like to hand over the microphone up north to Stockholm to Gustav Henriksson, our head of the Trade Point Nordics and soon to be head of Swiss Business Hub Nordics. He will guide through the expert presentations and the Q&A session. Please, Gustav, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Michael, and thank you, Andy. You actually said the most of what I wanted to say, so I'll keep it very short. I've had the pleasure of hanging around for about 9.5 years now. I've worked with Swiss Rail and for Swiss Rail since 2017, 2018, when I had the pleasure of organizing a mission to Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. So I did see some of my old contacts from the association present in this webinar. Mostly I've been conducting partner searches up here in the north, but also some business missions and some pavilion appearances, mainly in the tech sector. But we do cover all the sectors. Now, in order not to derail the webinar too much towards me, I want to get back on track and introduce our keynote speaker, long-standing contact, Mikael Prendler. I think you can tell a bit more yourself.
Yes, thank you, Gustav. It's a pleasure to attend this seminar and give some brief presentations from Sweden. I guess I met some of you a couple of years ago when I was arranging together with Gustav a Swiss a study trip for Swiss Rail to the Scandinavian countries, Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. And my presentation today will contain a small, brief introduction about the railway in Sweden, some actors, selections of major projects, some other opportunities, and how you can make business and enter the Swedish market. So we see if I can use this. Yes. So the railway market in Sweden, if you look at the rail network, it's about 15,600 kilometers of tracks, and from that about 14,200 is state-owned, and the other tracks belongs to ports, municipalities, and industries, and so on. And we also have a very long track called the Inland Line. It's about 1,000 kilometers from Mora in the middle of Sweden up to Gällivare in the north of Sweden. And I will come back to that a little bit later. If you look at the passenger traffic, we have both commercial traffic and procured traffic in Sweden. Commercial traffic is mainly between the large cities. It's Stockholm, Gothenburg, and Malmö, and also north from Stockholm at the coastline up to Umeå today. And that line will be prolonged up to Luleå in a couple of years, and that's one of the major projects. The procured traffic in Sweden is procured by the several public transport authorities, who is responsible for the regional traffic in Sweden in their certain areas. And that's a very big contract. And what's going on today is a procurement about the commuter traffic in Stockholm. That's out for qualification of tenders. If you look at the freight traffic system in Sweden, it's mainly unit traffic between port. Gothenburg is a very important port in Sweden, and to several hubs, and also for export through freight corridors through Europe. Scandinavian Mediterranean corridor is a very important corridor for export and freight traffic from Sweden. And then we always have to pass Denmark and hope a lot about the new fixed link between Denmark and Germany at the Fehmarn Belt. The opportunities for suppliers to the rail sector in Sweden is that we have lots of investments based on a national transport plan for investments that it's made by Trafikverket, the Swedish transport administration, and it's renewed every 4th year, and there's a process now for renewing it. And with the new Swedish government, that the blue wing, right wing, they want to have more focus on maintenance of the network than investments in high-speed lines. There was the last plan was some new high-speed lines especially for passenger traffic. And what's important is that a raise of capacity in the Swedish rail network is very important. Some big areas of maintenance are identified, and it's necessary to do maintenance and reinvestments in the Swedish network. But also the Swedish membership of NATO is important to see what's going on in the Swedish rail sector, because the NATO membership requires upgrading of the network, especially in east-west from Norway to Sweden, and then we have some water to the other new member of NATO, Finland, but it's important to have good capacity in the Swedish rail network. If you look at the actors, they're mainly infrastructure managers and operators, and of course there are some workshops, companies for maintenance of rolling stock, and also other suppliers to the sector and the business. The main player and most important player in Sweden about infrastructure managers, that's Trafikverket, the Swedish Traffic Administration. It's the biggest one, but we also have some other infrastructure managers, as I mentioned. It's ports that have port tracks for supplying ships from rail to ship. Some industries has own tracks, and even some municipalities have own tracks they are responsible for. And the other big one is Inlandsbanan, which is a rural line between Mora and Gällivare, and it was built between World War I and World War II as to secure rail transport in Sweden when the Russian warships couldn't shoot so long, so therefore the line was placed in the middle of Sweden. If you look at the operators, mostly, of course, SJ is an important operator that runs almost all commercial traffic, but SJ have competition from today MTR, which is a Hong Kong company, and also from Transdev, who is running some commercial traffic, passenger traffic, but SJ is the most important player. If you look at the procured traffic, there are also some other operators. Vy, which is the former Norwegian state railway, changed name a couple of years ago, and they have a Dutch company in Sweden called Vy Tåg that runs procured traffic. And also the last year, the Finnish state-owned railway, VR, has introduced themselves to the Swedish market. The first step was to buy the company Arriva that had some contracts in Sweden that's now run by VR, and VR is also buying MTR's commercial branch, the traffic between Stockholm and Gothenburg that's run by MTR. So MTR is getting out from the Swedish market because they lost the metro as a metro operator in Stockholm. They have lost the commuter traffic and hand it over to SJ for today, and that will be procured again. And they will hand over the regional traffic around the Lake Mälaren, close to Stockholm, to Transdev. So MTR will be out of the Swedish markets very soon. If you look at the freight operators, of course, there's Green Cargo, former SJ, and also Hector Rail, which is a private company. And there are some smaller operators running some certain systems in Sweden also. The market in Sweden, if you look at Trafikverket, the Swedish Transport Administration, the annual procurement about railway-related procurement is about 3 billion euro. That's lots of money in Sweden, and the annual turnover for procurement is about 6 billion euro annual. So Trafikverket is a very important player in the infrastructure market. The major industries that Trafikverket are working with is, of course, contractors for railways and subways, and the turnover in 2022 was 561 million euro, and they had 46 suppliers in that area. Also, technical consulting agencies in construction and civil engineering is a very important area. The procurement in 2022 was 545 million euro, and here there is a large number of suppliers, about more than 300 different suppliers in that area. And also contractors for bridges and tunnels is a very big industry that Trafikverket buys from. Why is it so big for consultants agencies? And that's because Trafikverket has the responsibility, but they don't have the number of people working with. So Trafikverket is today a very big planning and procurement organization. So I guess there would be a very good market for being a railway in the railway business in Sweden. The largest suppliers in 2022, and it's so for many years, it's civil engineering work. We have Peab, NCC and Skanska, which are very important, but also the Strukton Rail from Netherlands that's working in the business with more rail-specific topics such as signaling, tracks, electrification, and especially maintenance of the railway. And we also have this Swedish Infranord, which is a competitor to Strukton and not so big as Strukton. So Strukton has lots of contracts in Sweden, but also the Swiss company Implenia is a very big player in the Swedish rail market, and they have a Swedish subsidiary, Implenia Sverige AB, that's Implenia Sweden AB, and they are making not only rail working in the railway business, but also in the road business a lot with the new investments and buildings that's around Stockholm. Some major project in Sweden, the Botnia Line, North Botnia Line, is a new line along the coast, because the railway today is not going at the coast where all the cities are. It's a little bit more inland, and that will be a new line between Umeå and Luleå, which is very north in Sweden. The construction is underway on the section between north from Umeå, including railway tunnels and so on. And the goals on this ongoing project is to open for freight traffic in 2024. But they're also planning going on. So that will be a project that could be interesting in the oncoming years. Another big project that's also connected to a project in the Uppsala municipality to build a new light rail system in Uppsala. That 4 tracks between, well, the county border between Uppsala and Stockholm, but if you say between Arlanda and Uppsala, it might be some easier to understand. It's a lot of rail traffic, and there's a need for increased capacity. So there is an agreement between the Swedish state and the Uppsala region to build a new, expand the railway capacity from 2 tracks today to 4 tracks. And Uppsala will build that light rail system within Uppsala. A new railway between Gothenburg and Borås. The first idea was that that's a part of a new high-speed network in Sweden, but the government today, they closed down every project that's part of the high-speed network. But it's an important line between because it's about 1,000 buses a day for commuters between Borås and Gothenburg. So it's needed for an upgraded and increased capacity on the railway. So there has been a renewal of the decision that this part of the line should be built, and Trafikverket has restarted the work to fulfill the line. It's the same with the East Link between Järna, which is south from Stockholm, and Norrköping. That the original plans is that even this part is part of a new high-speed line, and the planning work and the work had come so far, so the government couldn't stop this project, so it's ongoing. And also during the last month, the iron ore line up in the very north between Kiruna, Luleå, and Kiruna, Narvik in Norway is a very important line for the industry, but will also be very important for the defense transports. And there was 2 derailments in December that caused a break of the traffic for about 3 months, which costed the industry very lots of money. So the government has noticed that and give Trafikverket a task to put forward reinvestment and maintenance work at the iron ore line. So if you want to be up in a very tough climate and work, that's a perfect line to be in. And it was also the first line that was electrified in Sweden, because the SJ thought that if it's possible to electrify a line up in the very north, it could be done in the other part of Sweden also. Some other opportunity is Inlandsbanan. It's a rural line between Mora and Gällivare. As I said, it's an old one, and the standard is very low. But since the NATO membership, the importance of the line has increased. So I think there is a need of upgrading it for north-south transports in Sweden. So that could also be very interesting. And Inlandsbanan has made an investigation about the cost and says that it's about, you get a good line for about 1,000 million euro, 1 billion euro to upgrade the line. Uppsala Light Rail is a new light rail system in Uppsala. Uppsala is north from Stockholm, and the plans are going forward, and I think the civil engineering work will be procured very soon, actually, to make the line ready, and it's planned and open for traffic in 2030. Also in Stockholm, there's lots of things going on. We have expanding the metro lines in Stockholm, and also with a totally new line built between Fridhemsplan and Älvsjö in Stockholm. How to make business in Sweden? I think that dialogue is very important, to be present and tell the procurer that you are available, and also propose several what you can help them with. One way to be in the Swedish market is, of course, as being a subcontractor to a bigger company in these big investments or maintenance projects that's procured by Trafikverket. Trafikverket, they present and then advertise all their procurements in a special procurement portal. Most of the advertisement is in Sweden, unfortunately, but if there are big procurements, Trafikverket also, of course, want some international competition, because the Swedish market is too small for all. So some of the advertisement is made also in English, and they have an annually suppliers day where they present upcoming procurements, interesting projects, and also want to start a dialogue with suppliers. And this year there will be a webinar on September the 27th that you can attend if you want. I'm not sure if that's in English or only in Swedish, but normally Trafikverket Suppliers Day usually be in English, and this webinar is also followed by Regional Suppliers Day on different places in Sweden during November. And if you want to learn more about the Swedish market and what's going on and how to make procurement, I have also presented some useful websites with the links on this last slide. And that's, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mikael. Just a quick follow-up question. I mean, the procurement in general, it seems to me it's especially on the operator side that it's a lot about pricing, but how are they in general very price oriented, or do they have other dimensions as well? I mean, Swiss experts in general are not the cheapest kids, but probably the best kids on the block.
Yes, of course. And well, there is a rumor, if you look at the public market general in Sweden, there's a rumor that everything is bought on the lowest price. But if you make an investigation and analyze it, it's about 50% that has other values that's evaluated in the procurement system, and that's also so with Trafikverket. And in some procurements, of course, there's the lowest price, but they try to build in some quality parameters also in the evaluation. And if you look to other sections, of course, there are some quality matters also, and that's one thing that's important as a supplier. I think it's to tell the procurer that the price is one thing, but look at the a longer time period and see what you can get for it, because I think it's necessary to convince the procurer that lowest price is not the best way to.
So total cost of ownership.
Yes, but that's a topic, and that's a very important thing, I think, in the dialogue with the supplier and the procurer.
Okay, I have a couple of other questions, but I think we'll open the Q&A session, but we'll open it by introducing our next speaker. So Paul Arne Davidsen from Ruud Pedersen will give a very quick snapshot into the Norwegian market, and I hope that you participants will already start bombarding us with tricky questions. Paul Arne, go ahead.
Thank you very much for that, Gustav. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be attending this digital seminar on opportunities within the transport and infrastructure sector in Norway. I had the pleasure of actually seeing some of you at the Swiss Rail delegation seminar at the Swiss Embassy here in Oslo a couple of years back. We do work or have worked with some of the companies that are already present in the call here. I think by the time I've been given for this short snapshot, I will focus on the big happening in the transport and infrastructure sector in Norway this year, which is the introduction of the National Transport Plan for the next 12 years. In Norway, that was introduced by the government on the 22nd of March. And just to give you a little bit of a brief understanding here on how how the overall sector is structured in Norway, with both similarities but also differences between what Michael was presenting with Sweden. For instance, we do not only have one Trafikverket, one administrator that puts out the tenders. Basically, we have Bane Nor, that is the main entity responsible for the tenders in the railway sector. We have Norske Tog, that some of you are familiar with, Norwegian trains, that basically buys the rolling stock and leases the rolling stock to the operators. And then on the road side, we have two key entities, the Public Roads Administration, which is the historic entity that is administering the national road transport grid. And then by the previous government in Norway in 2015, a new entity was established called Nye Veier, New Roads, which goes back actually to innovation and technology, looking at kind of can we build roads in Norway for less money in a more innovative way using more technology. And just to the point that was mentioned here earlier with regards to language, one interesting observation is that Nye Veier is conducting most of their market dialogues in English, while the Public Roads Administration is still sticking primarily to Norwegian. And of course, this has implications also for the international companies or for the Swiss companies that would like to enter the market, making it a little bit more challenging with regards to language. So back to the National Transport Plan. It was introduced, as I said, on the 22nd of March. The timeline here is that it has been given it has been sent to Parliament, to the Standing Committee on Transport and Infrastructure, and they have started negotiations that will culminate basically in mid-late June. So the way the plan is structured is that we're talking about the next 12 years. And of course, it's all about who gets what, when, and how. And the division and the responsibility is, of course, road and all national road infrastructure projects. It is rail. It is airports, national airports. And then it is maritime sector, meaning primarily ports and coastal affairs. And then when it becomes complex is, of course, when you start talking about how these different areas are interlinked. One prime example is, of course, what Mikael also mentioned with regards to the iron ore line up in the north of Norway, northern Sweden, where iron ore is taken from the mines in Sweden, in Kiruna, Malmberget, Gällivare, and then shipped with railway across the border to Norway and to the city and to the port of Narvik, where it is sent out to the international market. So, of course, strong links between rail and port and maritime sea sector. So basically, overall cost framework for the National Transport Plan, it is divided into two parts. So 2 6-year periods, and the intention of most projects are to be mentioned concretely in the plan in the first 6-year period. If you're in the next 6-year period, you are in the so-called development portfolio, meaning that it is less likely that your project will be prioritized, at least not the first six years. And even though your project is in the National Transport Plan, you are by no way guaranteed that you will get funding, because it's subject to parliamentary appropriations every year. So you cannot sit and lean back even though you are mentioned in the National Transport Plan. So we see a little bit about the division here of projects with national roads, the national road grid taking the biggest share with 574 billion. With rail, also significant investments, and then, as I said, also with county roads that we see a quite increase investment in from the state, and coastal affairs, harbors becoming more and more important, also from a public security perspective, and then airports. A few words about the overarching government priorities, and within these 5 bullet points, there will be specific projects. There will be a plethora of opportunities also for Swiss companies to take part. So currently, we have a minority center-left government in Norway, and one of the government parties is an agrarian rural party. So what we see here now is that there's less prioritization of big highway, road, grid infrastructure projects in the central parts of the country, but more focus on improving the mobility throughout the country. So that's one thing. The other thing is the transport sector making up around 25-30% of the emissions. So technology innovation that can reduce the climate emissions and the climate footprint and impact on nature is very high on the agenda. So this can be an opportunity, but it can also be a challenge for, let's say, the construction infrastructure consortiums or companies that are building big, let's say, highways or bridges that if you, for instance, trespass a marshland or trespass a protected area, then automatically you are at odds with the local population. So local buy-in is extremely important when conducting infrastructure projects in Norway. Transport safety, very high on the agenda, and technology, digital technology that can improve such are sought after, and we have several upcoming tenders on this as well. Increased focus on civil security and preparedness, much because of the war in Ukraine, but also with regards to the uncertainty of global supply chains on raw materials. Last but not least, digitalization and new technology. We see both within Bane NOR on rail, but also within the road sector, we see an increased focus on digitalizing the infrastructure, ranging from everything from CBTC to ERTMS to digital rail infrastructure. So just a few words about what is your business model? Are you coming to Norway to sell something and then pull out, or are you coming to operate something, or are we talking about both? So based on this, there will be different challenges, different opportunities. I will touch upon early phase engagement and the importance of that just before I wrap up. But we see that many companies, they find partners. They either form joint ventures or they merge with a company, or as we had a recent example of a big international player that wanted to look at Norwegian companies within railway maintenance infrastructure that they wanted to buy. Basically, so substantial allocations in this national transport plan to rail infrastructure maintenance. So service maintenance is the order of the day for the next 6 years, and then reducing infrastructure bottlenecks. And then we have a white paper on preventing landslides and floodings that will come up later in June, where we also believe that there could be opportunities for Swiss companies, as both Switzerland and Norway have kind of challenging geographical structure. So, few words about doing business in Norway, and this is based on our portfolio and concrete challenges that some of our clients have entered. A few words on this. We have a very non-hierarchical business culture in Norway, but it's also a very trust-based business culture. So if you're in for quick gains and then to pull out, it's probably not the market for you. You have to do your homework on health, safety, environment, quality, and ESG. Local content matters. What I mean by that is that it is very important to showcase that you leave something for the local municipality, and then also having a local partner. As of 2022, we have a Transparency Act where suppliers and operators above a certain size need to be very cautious monitoring their supply chain. We have from the 1st of January a requirement for public tenders that that will count 30%. So environment and climate is increasingly important when doing business in Norway. And then happy to take any questions on how to navigate these conditions in Norway. So thank you very much, and looking forward to the Q&A session.
Thank you, Pål Arne. I have the prerogative of asking the first question. So, I mean, what would be your top 3 tips to companies who want to enter the Norwegian market? I mean, you mentioned a couple of musts, but do you have anything additional?
I'll give you the first key recommendation, which is based on actually a concrete Swiss company that we have worked with, and that's early phase engagement. So the transport sector is a very procurement tender-driven sector, and some think that they can sit and wait until the tender is out and then bid. It's too late in 9 out of 10 cases. So early phase engagement, engaged with the authorities, engaged in the market dialogue, become a trusted partner for the procurer and also for the political stakeholders, because these are the ones that are setting the regulatory framework conditions. So you can do that through an RFI, a pilot. Innovation technology is very high up on the agenda. So that's the first point. Second point is find a local partner or a local advisor. That is, in many cases, it's saving time for the public procurers because then they don't have to explain things to you that are quite obvious. The third point is on climate and ESG. So everything from the requirement to recycle building materials from the construction site, which has come, it started in the city of Oslo, and now it's about to become a national requirement. And then on ESG, I would say, and that's not my impression, this is the big challenge for Swiss companies, but it is a challenge for a lot of companies coming from other parts of Europe or from outside Europe. With the Transparency and the Transparency Act that I drew attention to. So especially now with the war in Ukraine, increasing scrutiny on the supply chain. And we have for the procurement, the commuter train procurement in Norway a couple of years ago, we had 2 out of 4 of the companies that were very, very close to getting excluded because of investments in East Jerusalem. So quite often what your company is doing in other parts of the world has a local impact and gets attention here, both good and bad. So I think those 3 points will summarize some of the key recommendations that I would have.
I believe these actually recommendations apply to Sweden as well, right, Mikael?
Yes, they do. I could have said it myself, but we don't have this act on sustainability and so on. But almost every procurer has a code of conduct where the sustainability and the social sustainability is very, very important. So I agree with Paul-Arne that I could have said it myself. It's almost the same. Be present. Have a local partner, take part of the dialogue very early, so you can be a trustful partner to the procurer.
Yep. Cool. So we actually have a first question from the audience. Lubomir from European Lock Pool in Frauenfeld. Since we are a leasing company providing full service leasing of Stadler 6-axle locomotives, the heavy operations up north are interesting for us. How do you see the situation within LKAB? From our perspective, they are struggling with operations. However, the company is closed in terms of communication. Any comments or ways of how to support the communication effort? Thank you. This goes to Mikael.
Yes, thank you. It's a little bit tricky question actually, because LKAB, the mining company, they are running the trains by themselves and have bought some rolling stock and locos from earlier it was Bombardier. Today it's Alstom, but it's the same locos. They had a very bad derailment, two derailments very close to the border of Norway. But to open up the dialogue with the mining company or the operator, I think the best way is if you need some help, I'm happy, and together with Gustav, of course, to help you to get in contact with the operator. But it's also a little bit tricky, because I know that the Swiss 6-axle locos, they are actually a little bit tricky with Trafikverket and the permission for these locos. It's okay in Norway, I guess, but there's a dialogue with Trafikverket to solve that problem actually.
Thank you, Mikael. And did you want to add, Paul-Arne?
No, I just wanted to add what you see with LKAB is, of course, the cross-border dimension. What LKAB is doing is closely, of course, linked to the Norwegian counterpart, which is the harbor of Narvik. So historically, the challenge has been with any cross-border infrastructure project that you don't have the same government, the same color of the government at the same time in both countries. So there's always one country that is further ahead on a project. And there are also in the National Transport Plan, there are budget allocations for improving the stretch on the Norwegian side, with not double track, but more crossing tracks. How to get in touch with LKAB? We do actually work for them in Sweden and know them quite well. So if you want to position yourself in a tender or in a sales pitch, we could probably also assist on that. But I would stress kind of that this is not kind of a Swedish issue. It's a cross-border issue, so you need to take into consideration requirements on both sides.
Thank you. And I have a second question from the audience by Momir Kuzmic. Hi, Momir. Which official document is covering the ESG procurement requirements? We heard about a document called BREM or similar. Do you know about it, Paul-Arne?
What I can say, I can start with drawing attention to the most recent recent issue about the 30% requirement for climate and environment in public tenders, which took a lot of companies by surprise. So because the main reason for that was that usually when you have something and a new requirement in public tenders, if it's ESG related or related to other requirements, you will have a thorough kind of assessment by the civil service. But in this case, the push didn't come from civil service; it came from politics, from the politicians, that kind of said that we want this 30%. And because it's a minority government, it went through the supporting party in Parliament, and then came into operations from the 1st of January. So I'd be happy to send you both on this requirement and on other requirements the more concrete ESG requirements. But this is the most important one, and both companies, business unions, and even civil service are still discussing how to move this forward, because it has some challenges.
Thank you. Markus Müller from Securiton wrote in the chat, are there rules, codes or standards in force in the Nordic countries? So the question applies to both of you, that oblige operators and or infrastructure managers to install fire alarm systems in their infrastructure installations. For instance, signal boxes, railway control centers, communication infrastructure. Do these rules or codes differ from those in force for other built occupancies, like industrial or residential occupancies? Do they differ from country to country? And I'll give the word first to Mikael.
Thank you. That's a very detailed question. If there are some, I can't give a very proper answer if there are some external rules or whatever, but I think that you install fire protection equipment in very important, and in like signal box, that it's very important for its function and so on. But I guess that will be more a requirement from the procurer, Trafikverket, to do it. I have no good answer. I'm sorry to that question, but I would say it's required, but I'm not sure about if there are some rules or laws or external forces to install it, actually. Sorry.
Pål-Arne?
I think I would have the same answer. Yes, there will be requirements, but the requirements will differ with regards to kind of what project, what level of governance you're talking about. Are you talking about, for instance, in light rail in the city of Bergen on the west coast, or are you talking about, for instance, the new long distance trains to Norway that Stadler will deliver soon, or are you talking about the CAF commuter trains? So there will be some objective kind of national standards. Of course, to see and to influence, I would recommend how the procurement entity are putting this down on paper.
Thank you. So actually, and this is an advice from me to all of you, for very detailed questions, Michael Kühn and I, together with Mikael and Pål-Arne and further experts, we're really happy to help you navigate the Nordic countries, and we do offer some initial information free of charge. And then if it's really technical and in-depth, then it might become a mandated project. But be really happy to to talk with you either at the Außenwirtschaftsforum in just a couple of weeks, or then in an individual session later on, either online or physically in either Zurich, Renan, or Lugano. So this actually concludes our Q&A session. We are pushing pushing the time limit a bit, but I will hand over to Michael Kühn for some final wise words.
Thank you very much, Gustav, and also to the speakers for these really interesting insights you delivered in the past 40 minutes. So we're coming to an end of our webinar. Please allow me 2 final remarks. On the slide I showed about the infrastructure and railways activities, I forgot to mention one business mission, which goes to the annual business conference of the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, which happens this year in Yerevan, Armenia. And we are organizing a business mission for Swiss companies in the infrastructure industry to this business conference, and we will organize so-called Swiss days in several industries, one of which will be a day dedicated to Swiss infrastructure solutions. So if you're interested, please reach out to me and I'll give you more information about that. And I would like to invite you all to join the International Trade Forum, which will take place on April 23rd in Zurich, on the topic of sustainability as a driver for growth. As every year, there will be high-level speakers and also the ceremony for the annual Export Award, not to be missed. And if you're a Swiss Rail member, of course, you will already be there in the morning, where you have the opportunity to have meetings with our heads of the Swiss business hubs. If you're not joining in the morning already, you also have the opportunity to see them all and also our consulting team during the whole event in Zurich. So make sure to register on our website and you join us there. Happy to see you. So now this is really it. Thank you very much for joining today. Thank you again to Swiss Rail for the partnership. Thank you to the speakers. Here are our contact details. Please get in touch with us and we will be very happy to have a personal meeting with you to discuss all your questions. So we wish you a great day, a lot of success in your business in the Nordics and worldwide. Thank you very much, and Gute, and bye-bye.